Hello, everybody. My name is Sanjar Shadiev, owner of the KDK Fortis Group AI agency, but at the same time, the starter of the Owner's Diary channel. Super excited to host a current guest today, Coach Tamara. She brings a lot of experience from being in the corporate world, and we'll dive into that in a second, as well as owning her own company and a consulting firm that I think it's going to blow your mind, some of the information we'll be covering today. So thank you so much for taking your time. Appreciate you. And if you kindly don't mind taking a couple of seconds and just kind of giving your intro. Who are you? What do you do?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. First off, I'm Tamara Brown, affectionately known to my clients as Coach Tamara. I'm an executive career brand and business coach and the founder of iPropel. That's a unique way to introduce myself. I'm currently in the process of expanding and I've created this ecosystem. So normally I would say iPropel You, which is my first company that I created after a corporate layoff. I had an amazing corporate career with companies like Walmart and Sprint. And I was able to turn unexpected layoffs into a mission. And that's to help propel talented professionals and founders to get noticed, get hired, and get ahead. Since 2015, I've served more than 7,500 professionals across 25 countries. And today I'm expanding that impact through iPropel Center, which is the first local presence located here in my backyard, which is Northwest Arkansas. This will be a career hub for not only mobility, entrepreneurship, and business growth with a kind of a networking collaboration space in the mix.
I wish I was there in person. And if I am passing through, you know exactly what I'm stopping.
Well, I would
For
love
you.
to host you here.
Absolutely. Good for you. Well, I guess let's take a step back, right? You talked about the corporate layoff and working for some of the big brands. What was the moment you knew it was time to pretty much saying goodbye to corporate America and kind of bet on yourself?
Well, I would say 2015. I was at the peak of my career. Everything was going right. I had in my eyes, the perfect role, an amazing network. I was fulfilling not only what I felt was my purpose, but also my passion working, for the most amazing company that I ever worked for. And so everything had been, it was really aligning. I was really getting into my niche and building my own thought leadership. And I guess I realized that, there was more out there for me. What some may seem or take as, a letdown, as a layoff. It's a change that a lot of us have gone through. Some more recently, it's become a lot more of a challenge for many in the workforce right now. I remember probably about 6 months before my layoff, I contemplated buying a coaching franchise. When I worked at Walmart, I was heavily involved in like mentoring and leadership, development and working with executives to build out their roundtables and ways to engage. I was a engagement chair as part of one of the associate resource groups. And so I was all over the place and absolutely loved everything. The last project that I was working on at Walmart, I was actually building out like some of the communications plans for certain changes that were happening in the technology organization where I worked. And I became a part of that plan that I was putting together, if you know what I mean. And so it was, what most may look at it as a setback. I've always been taught that when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. So I made lemonade. And
That's right.
it
That's
really
right. I love it.
helped. It helped me understand that my purpose was bigger than what I was doing. I had been an entrepreneur before, so it wasn't like I was new to going out on my own. But the biggest thing was I was like a new single mom, sole income. Everything with my 3 children was depending on me. So it was a bit of a challenge, but
Whoa.
yeah, I don't think anything worth having is not a bit of a risk or a challenge. So I remember the day, it was actually December 7th, 2015, when I started a new position. It was just a couple months after leaving my role. I started a new position. I started career coaching certification. I was really pouring into myself and developing me. And I remember, not to get too spiritual, but God literally dumped my entire vision into my head while I was on one of those, coaching calls, working on my certification. iPropel U came into my brain and all the services that I would later provide. I mean, he spelled it out. I had the logo, I had the concepts, I had the color, everything was like, I just kept writing. So that was definitely a big day for me that I'll never forget. It changed the trajectory of not only my career, but my life.
That's incredible story. Oh my gosh. And you talking about the vision and having kind of betting in yourself. There was some obviously faith was involved, obviously, and it can be scary. You said 3 children, single mom, single
Yeah,
income.
yeah.
Whoa. Yeah,
One
it's,
about to go to college. It was a lot.
I definitely absolutely like I'm in awe right now. Sometimes when when we want as W2 employees to transition to entrepreneurship world, there's a certain level of fear involved because you're comfortable. And because I know you do help multi-passion professionals balance that W2 while building
Absolutely.
a business without burning out. When you literally just go all out on faith and bet on yourself, there is certain things you will do that will be just enough for you to create success versus you still will feel certain comfortability level and fear because you still have that secured paycheck coming in. There's a shift in the mindset. Can you talk about that a little bit more? How are you balancing that? That is not simple.
Absolutely. It's definitely a shift in the mindset. And I can say, as a founder, an entrepreneur, or a business owner, one thing that you have to keep in mind is change is the only thing you can depend on. I've learned that. What I've ended up doing is I treated my W-2, well, I can say some people treat their W-2 paycheck as an asset, which they should, not an obstacle. Right. So, I mean, the best way to kind of look at how you can create your legacy and what you're to become is don't wait until you need to build a business, right? You start building that business from day one as soon as that thought enters your head. Because if not, fear is always going to be a thing that comes in and keeps you in bondage. Right? Can I make it successful? I don't know how to market. I don't know how to build a business. I don't know what I would sell or who I want to sell it to. I don't know what I want to do. And so that's actually a really good foundation to start from. It's like I do an inventory with my clients when they're thinking about going into business for themselves. And I really work with them to understand, who are you? What are you good at? What impacts have you had? And also, like, what do you absolutely love doing? So if you can figure out your purpose and connect that to your passion, and then you create a business around those two things at that intersection, right? Then you actually fall into your own niche. You fall into a business that you love and that you can monetize your expertise and build a brand for yourself that, it becomes, I would say, layoff proof, right? Resilient and able to move when you need to move. And that's kind of something that I've done. I continue to help my clients build those roadmaps, and I've transitioned that into actually building their boss. And that's a joke for me. So I
That's
created a
awesome. I like
I
that. I
created a
like that.
platform that is called iPropel Boss. And this platform allows people to build out their entire business ecosystem and around an operating system. So your boss, that actually stands for your business operations success system. So many people start from, I just want a business, and they buy a business, or they, fit into someone else's mold instead of starting in from, what do you really want? What do you want to create? What do you want that experience to be like? And then so my brand expertise comes in here because I'm able to help them map these things out and then build a system around you instead of building your business around a system. And so,
That's
yeah,
great.
yeah,
Yeah, can we talk about actually the systems? I mean, what are the top like I'm a W2, if I wanting to start a business, obviously people automatically default into, oh, I have an idea, I'm really good at I don't know, building roofs, right? And they'll think like, okay, let me go start a business. Well, in reality, there's actually systems needs to be in place for you to even perform the operation, right? To be profitable. What are the top systems every founder needs before they launch, like needs to think of
Mm,
and implementing them before they can launch?
that is an amazing question. Really important. The first and most important system that you need is a customer system. So this is like who you serve and the outcome, right? Then you need a sales system that's going to help you get leads from, I don't even know if I need this thing, to a decision on, I definitely want to work with this company or brand. And then you need a delivery system. You need to understand how you can produce consistent results. There's other systems that you need, of course, marketing systems and, cash flow, visibility. And, some people start with a business plan. Some people start with a website. That's the wrong place to start. You need to first identify, who you are, what you do uniquely, what you do and who you do it for, what problems you help them solve. That gives you the backbone to all the systems that you need to effectively run a business. So, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Obviously that's a mindset shift, right? You're talking about learning the new sets of skills, and obviously sometimes there's a saying, right? Like overthinking can lead to a lot of like confusion. So I guess
Definitely.
my question is, what mindset that you've seen that blocks commonly the talented, extremely talented people from actually committing to fully operate their business?
I'm going to tell on myself if I answer this question. That mindset is perfectionism. I was so afraid to put out something that wasn't absolutely perfect that I failed to launch, I don't know how many times, right? And sometimes the best work I did was really working with a client to understand exactly what they needed and then creating that from that need. So I would say perfectionism is definitely a blocker, something that so many people strive for, right? And so there's nothing wrong with striving for excellence, but you have to build a business around a concept, creating a roadmap, making sure you validate that roadmap before you scale, right? Figuring out the ways to automate what it is that you're delivering, or at least certain pieces of it, those redundant pieces. Because the one thing that hangs a lot of founders up is they're good at X. They're good at coaching. They're good at writing. They're good at this, but they might not be good at everything else. And so, it's getting over that concept of everything has to be perfect before you do your first outreach to a potential client. Yeah, that's going to keep you broke if you keep that mindset that it has to be perfect.
Cause
Sorry.
my gosh, I remember when I got my first client and they were interested in certain AI automation that delivers this certain outcome. And I was still interviewing certain individuals that can help me out with that. And, I'm so glad that I pursued that journey right away because I can see myself would have been sitting and like, you know what? I don't want to talk to clients yet because I want to figure out if I can deliver this first, which obviously I figured out how to deliver it. But the funny part is this because I did have somebody is interested, all of a sudden I had a pressure to learn to figure out how to deliver it faster. I'm just asking myself if I didn't do that, would I have had the same sense of urgency?
Probably not. You'd have been stuck in creating a business plan and a website
That's
that
right.
you had no clients going to, right?
Oh my God. Well, speaking, let's just talk about that actually, outcome, right? And selling, right? Because a lot of owners need to learn how to deliver the product because everybody's selling everything out there to everybody, right?
Right.
And the ones that know how to not come across as salespeople and actually getting the client to buy versus them to sell, it's a shift in mindset and shift in how you communicate. And it's what I've noticed is if you're good at communicating the outcome, right? I'm not selling AI tools. I'm selling the outcome of saving you time. I'm selling the outcome of you creating more revenue. Can you maybe talk about how does shifting from selling thing to selling outcome change everything for a founder? And have you noticed it's a real problem?
Absolutely, it's a real problem. People know they want to start a business. They don't know the individual steps that they need to take in the particular order. Sometimes they just know they want a successful business, right? Same thing with, so I'm going to divert and answer this by telling you a quick story. When I first started as a career coach, I knew I wanted to help my clients accelerate their leadership and their growth and have more visibility and all of those things. But I was selling coaching. Hey, you meet with me for an hour and I'll help you work on what you need to do to accomplish your goals. Nobody knew that they needed a career coach. What I quickly found out is that my clients, they knew they needed a resume and they thought theirs was great, but I couldn't really coach them because I couldn't get them to tell the right stories that aligned with their impact. And so when I started, believe it or not, when I started adding the service to write their resumes and bios and LinkedIn's and all of that, my clients could quickly identify their value through this new document that gave them purpose, right? Because they don't stop and think, what did I accomplish? They think, what did I do? What was I responsible for? What did I lead? But they don't think about how their impact helped move the needle for the organization or what have you. And so really it's like taking that and then saying, so what is this resume? It's visibility. It's a foundational document. It helps them build confidence. It helps open opportunities. It helps them get momentum, right? Same thing with the coaching. That's what they're buying. They're buying confidence. They're buying visibility. They're buying opportunities. They're buying momentums. The resume and the coaching just becomes the deliverables or the conduit to help them get where they're trying to go. So I learned very quickly, if I don't understand my clients' goals, their needs, their blind spots, and what they've accomplished and how they're not selling that became the foundation for building brands. And so you could build a brand as a person, as a business, as a thought leader, as so many different things. But if you don't understand, your core, your why, what you bring to the table, it's really hard to build that. So that's what I sell. I don't sell the resume, so to speak. I sell, how can I propel you to get from where you are now to where you want to be? And I identify those goals, aspirations, and then I tie them to what has been that impact. What have you brought to the table? What do you do? And it makes for a much different conversation, but it becomes the core for any kind of resume, career coaching, leadership development, interviewing, job search strategy, but also business foundation, selling yourself as a service, as a consultant. So it is really a good core. So although, I don't do it as much as I used to, but I still get into that core of building out that resume so we can create the right stories and build your brand foundation. I sold the resume. I sold the cover letter. I sold the coaching sessions. And it wasn't until I really understood how to pull everything together to build a better strategy for getting my clients to where they want to be. That's when I focused a lot more on the outcome. So I don't want to come off as I'm perfect and I have all the answers. I don't. This is definitely a trial by error and a learn by doing. When you're in a business, you'll connect those dots, right?
Let's just shift to my last question, right, about AI. How do you see AI reshaping the coaching industry over the next few years?
Well, this is a phenomenal question, and I want to. I don't know what I'm a little talky today, but I want to share how my own personal challenge or roadblock came up, and how it forced me into really leveraging AI, but leveraging in it the right way. So I think it was back in 2023, not long ago, about 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with a memory disorder. I noticed I have been having some challenges, and I had also faced some other health challenges. And this diagnosis really put me into a tailspin. I began dumping my brain and writing books and updating all my courses because my biggest fear was I was going to leave my clients without information. I was very fortunate to get reconnected with the love of my life, who he had this one phrase that he said. He's now my husband. We spent 26 years apart, not having any communication, and he found me less than 6 months after this diagnosis. When I was telling him about it, he's like, "I don't believe that." And I'm like, "No, it's fact. Like, if I don't get this straight in 5 years, my doctor said I'll be back as a full-time memory patient." And it was scary for me. And he said, "I'll remember what you forget." Fast forward 3 years, we're now married and launching this new business together. But if I'm being honest, it wasn't only that. That was just my motivation to stay the course and to not give up and not succumb to a diagnosis. I allowed my diagnosis to be my determination and, my motivation instead of my downfall. Right. So what happened is along that way, AI came. I used to write every single thing from scratch. My background's in communications, right? So when you use or leverage AI to replace you, it will do just that. It'll replace you and it'll make your business or your career or your resume or whatever it is that you're creating using AI be as the same as everyone else, right? Because if AI created it, guess what? It create it for the next one. Instead, you need to leverage it to think differently, to connect dots, to analyze information, to help you as more of an assistant, not a replacement. It should never replace human connection. Could it replace sharing, automated communications? Absolutely. But it shouldn't replace those human connections, those touch bases, all of that. It shouldn't really replace accountability. Although if you use it the right way, you can create a second brain for yourself, which is what I ended up doing. This is why I built the platform that I did. And that brain helped remind me of everything that I was working on, my projects, my goals, my calendar even. It helped me prepare for meetings differently. It helped me record and summarize my notes and then bring them back up when I needed them. So I never forgot a client again. Or I never, forgot a project again. I was embarrassed that my memory was failing me at the age that I was, right? I don't want to say my age, but anyway. And so, but now, I'm leveraging it, right, to help me stay on track. So I almost like report to it like it's my assistant. My assistant uses my AI to fill in the blanks of so if you use it the right way, it will not replace you. Okay. But
Yeah.
you have to leverage it,
That's the
not,
word I'm hearing.
yeah,
Leverage. And you just
leverage.
said something. Yeah, you just said, like, if you ask the AI to replace you, it's gonna do exactly what you asked. But
Yeah. Who
if you
needs you if they can get a replacement?
right, because you not don't know how to leverage it yet, right? That's the key word, leverage. Everybody can just go and create a content. Hey, tell me this, and that. A glorified Google, and it's a
Exactly.
completely different. Yeah, it's so much more than
So
that.
I think of it a little differently. I think of it as if you're a coach and you're feeding all your knowledge into AI to basically represent you, then you are using the AI to coach you instead of you being a coach that's amplified by AI. It should be a strategic partner, an assistant, not a replacement. Don't let it think for you because guess what? Studies show you lose a lot of brain cells. Seriously, if you leverage
Seriously.
AI for everything. Yeah, studies are.
Well, because
I don't want
yeah,
to scare anybody. But you're
you're right.
getting dumber. You don't have to think
Yeah,
for
yeah,
yourself.
you
Yeah,
practice not practicing critical thinking and thinking for yourself, correct? And it's
exactly.
dependency developing, right? Absolutely. Yeah.
Not only that, discernment is getting more challenged. People are looking at videos and they're like, is this AI? And so if you do too much too soon, people are starting to lose trust. So you have to make sure that trust and ethics stay at the center of your business. You can leverage it to think faster, to do more, to be in more places. So that's as simple as if you are creating a video, that's an AI version of you, say that. Hey, Coach T is over creating something for her clients. So I thought I'd pop in and share X.
That's great. That's great. Coach T, thank you. Thank
Thank you.
you. It's been a fantastic conversation. I'm sure viewers gonna get a lot out of it. And of course, viewers, if you like this video, Absolutely. Viewers, if you like the video, please just give us a quick thumbs up and follow this channel just to continue give us more leverage to continue recording amazing podcasts like that. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank you
for
for your
what
time.
you do. All right.
Thank you.
Bye bye.